probably one of the biggest issues to deal with in FIFA. It's so annoying. Everyone knows what it's like. If you're watching this video, you probably do have at some point have some issues with lag. So what I'm going to do today is give you tips and advice on how you can stop the lag in your game, or at least help it out, as well as the button delay. So when you press your buttons, my controller's not connected, but you know when you press the buttons and it made the pass a few seconds later or a few milliseconds later when you have a shot. It's so annoying. So that's what I'm going to tell you how you can fix that today. But what I'm going to start with is going through how the FIFA servers actually works. I think that's important. You need to understand like why it is how it is pretty much. But if you don't care about that stuff, you can just skip forward in the video. I'll put a timestamp you can just skip forward to and watch how you can fix the issues. But I'm going to start with not very long, but just go through the FIFA servers and how they work. So it's been like this, I think, since FIFA 20, which is why it says FIFA 20 up here. But it's the exact same now. And a FIFA 20, it says, what is a FIFA 20 game data center? So I'm pretty much going to read off this and sort of explain how the FIFA servers do work. So in our case, a game data center refers to a physical location with hardware and software systems designed to operate FIFA 20 online gameplay. So it says it's physical location, and it does actually tell you where those are located. So where are our current FIFA 20 game data centers? So there's 22 game data centers across the world. We've got Paris, Amsterdam, Frankfurt, Dublin, also the one in London. So London's new, Milan's new, Madrid is new. So before these new ones here, so for example, I live in the UK, so my server will be London because that's the closest to me. I would have probably had to connect to some Paris server or something like that. I'm not even sure where, but probably Paris or wherever the nearest centre was. But yeah, that is sort of how it works. So your nearest centre is what you connect to. So there's one. We've got one in Africa, Johannesburg. That's the only one in Africa. South America, there's only one, Sao Paulo. North America, there's 5. Only one in Australia, in Oceania. So there's Sydney. So wherever you live in Australia, you're connecting to this Sydney server, and that is sort of the issue. You could be living really far away from the place. So I live not too far from London, but still not reasonably close. And if you're living up north, in Scotland, up north, Manchester, you're still connecting to this London server. People could be living next to the server, and you're connecting to someone in Manchester or something. It doesn't really make sense, does it? But game data centers house the servers that allow for online gameplay in the modes listed below, and they also provide some information that is used as part of the matchmaking process for these modes, but don't do the actual matchmaking itself. The following modes in FIFA 20 use game data centers for online gameplay. So all the online games use game data centers. So pro clubs, co-op seasons, Volta League, FUT friendlies, even when not selecting the play with a friend option. Ultimate Draft, FUT Champs Weekend League, which is obviously the big one, and as well as Div Rivals. So Div Rivals and Weekend League, as we're going to be seeing most of these issues. You're playing a game, suddenly you get some red bar come up at the top, you're lagging all over the place, and it seems like your opponent's completely fine, and you've just lost your lead or something like that. And it's so annoying to deal with. And what it's actually meant to happen is you're meant to be on the same sort of par as with your opponent. So if you lag, they lag as well. And it doesn't seem to work that way, does it? Because when you lag a lot of the time, if your internet's bad, which I have issues with a lot, it really doesn't work out too well. So I'm going to come down here. Why does it seem like some players connect to a specific game data center despite being far from it? So you can sort of read through this as well. I'll leave it on the screen for a bit. I'm not going to read all of it out, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But FIFA 20 will always try to have you play matches on your best game data center when playing online. Although that is often the nearest one, this is not always the case. So internet service providers generally don't send data from point A to point B directly. They route this data across locations, sometimes even the whole world. So that is sort of what you need to understand. So why don't you add more game data centers? You can sort of read this as well if you want to. You can go onto this website as well. It's just Pitch Notes FIFA 20 game data centers. That's all you have to search up, and it'll come up, and you can read about this yourself. But pretty much what I'm saying is the issue is FIFA, so it's not necessarily your internet. You may be completely fine playing any other games, and as soon as you're playing FIFA, it just messes the whole thing up and you just can't play properly. And it's FIFA that needs to fix the issue rather than trying to fix it ourselves. But I'm still going to give you some tips on how you can make it better for yourself compared to what it is currently. So I pretty much, I think, everything covered here. Let me scroll through this. Don't think there's anything I need to go over here. You can sort of go onto this as well. So here's one thing actually, peer-to-peer online games. So why do FIFA use I can't speak at all. Why do FIFA use game data centers is what I'm saying here. So in peer-to-peer online games which don't use game data centers, this is every game apart from FIFA, or quite a few games apart from FIFA. I know GTA does this as well. Most of you probably have played that before. Well, this can be useful when you're playing an opponent very close to you physically or in remote areas with a few available options. Peer-to-peer online matches mean that your opponent's connection matters as well as your own and can have an impact on your gameplay experience. So what it's saying is, Pretty much, I'll read it again. So when you play peer-to-peer online matches in FIFA, your connection can only be as good as your opponent's. That's what it's saying. So if you're playing a peer-to-peer match on FIFA, your connection can only be as good as how good your opponent's connection is. You might have really good Wi-Fi and your opponent's is terrible, which means yours is going to be terrible as well, because it can only be as good as your opponent's. If you're playing against someone with poor Wi-Fi, your game will feel similar to theirs, as you're both sending the gameplay information required to play online to each other over that same connection, which is how GTA works and quite a lot of other games. And what it's saying is with FIFA, they use game data centers which you all connect to, and that is basically the issue, because your opponent doesn't have any lag and you have loads of lag because your Wi-Fi is not good enough or because you're further from the center. That's pretty much how it works. So the advantage of playing online with the game data center is that it handles the distribution of gameplay information to all of the involved players. The game and game data center look to collect input at a set interval of time. Then the game data center sends this information back to everyone else in the match. This happens at the same time for all players. This is across milliseconds. You won't notice it, particularly with the players' individual connections determine when they receive that data. So if one player is streaming 4K movies and trying to play on a weak Wi-Fi signal, their experience may be impacted by these factors, but it shouldn't impact anyone else's match. So that's basically what I'm saying. Your games, your bad Wi-Fi, if you're lagging all over the place, isn't going to make any difference to your opponent, which is sort of a good idea if you have good Wi-Fi. But as soon as you play bad Wi-Fi, you'll get a sudden bit of lag. Your opponent's going to be completely fine, and that's just sort of where it goes a bit wrong. So I'm sort of going to now show you how you can fix this up. So the first thing we're going to go, I've taken a screenshot of what I've done here. So this is your connection score. All you have to do is search up, if you just go to Google, search up EA Connection Quality Report. It's made by EA, and then you can pretty much just put your EA account in, just log into your EA account, and go onto the connection quality report. And I've taken a screenshot of mine down here. So your connection score, mine was 97 out of 100 when I did this, and you can see that is actually very good. Out of 100, 97 is good, but most people, and me at the moment, this was a bit ago when I did this, but it has gone a lot worse since then because I've changed Wi-Fi, and for a lot of people it's going to be much lower than this. You can see the ping is 12.54 milliseconds, which is very good. The jitter is very low. The jitter is how sort of many changes there are to the ping pretty much, and the packet loss, which is very low as well. But that's very good for me, which means my game's going to be very quick. And if I'm playing against an opponent who has much lower this, maybe like 50 plus ping, maybe even 100 or 200 ping, higher jitter, and that kind of stuff, it's going to mess them up. They're not going to be able to play even if they're a better player than me, and I'm just going to get the win because they can barely move around, and I'm just running through the whole team, even if I'm a much worse player, which is sort of the issue, which is happening, which is what FIFA need to fix. If you go over to speed test, if you go to speedtest.net, you can just do a speed test and see what your Wi-Fi's at. So if I do this here, it will just come up just like so. You can do this yourself. It's completely fine to do. So mine's obviously a bit different to when I did that test now because it's got a lot worse. I've also got a lot of stuff open, which is really slowing it down. So the more stuff you have open, the slower it's going to be. If I just go this down a bit. So you can see my megabytes per second now, and that is awful. It was much higher earlier. Later in the day, it does get worse usually, and also I've got so much stuff open on my phone, computer, Xbox, all that kind of stuff. It's really slowing it down, as well as other people in the house using the stuff. So you can see my ping is on 25 currently, which is over double what I had it on the screenshot. My download speed is only 2 megabytes, which is awful at the moment. It's normally can be anywhere up to 80. For some reason it's on 2 at the moment, and my upload speed is on 11 megabytes a second. This is because I'm using my actual Wi-Fi, and I normally do have an Ethernet cable, which I've not put on just for the sake of this video. So this is what my actual Wi-Fi is. If I'm playing with my Wi-Fi, which is the wireless connection, I have everyone else in the house using the Wi-Fi. All my other stuff is open using this. Whereas if I'm using my Ethernet cable, it is just to my computer, and it's so much quicker. Which is sort of the first tip. So many of you may not be able to do this, so don't worry if you can't. I've got other tips for you. But the first tip, which is the best tip, is just get an Ethernet cable. It's that simple. Connect it directly from your router to your Xbox, your PlayStation, your PC, and it makes it such a big difference. It makes your Wi-Fi about 1 billion times faster. No one else in the house is going to be affected, or the other way around. No one else is going to affect your gameplay by having Netflix or anything like that open. So that's the best tip to go with. It doesn't cost very much to get an Ethernet cable, and you can just connect it straight to the back of your Xbox, PlayStation or PC. But if that's not an option for you, I'm going to show you some more ways of doing this. So I'm going to go into FIFA now, and I'm going to go over to the settings. This is sort of a new thing, I think, for this year. It might have been there last year. I can't quite remember. If you go to settings and then go to, I think it's on game settings. Yeah, and you go across to visual. Here you go, visual. It's down here. It is this stuff over here. So input overlay, which is one of them. It's also mostly the net tension. Sorry, not net tension. It is the connection monitoring thing. So you've got connection monitoring. You can have it off. You can have it on ping only or connection indicators only. Ping and connection indicators, and that is your options. To enable ping and visual connection indicators to monitor your connection, I do recommend doing this, as when you're playing a game, it's just sort of a little bar at the top of your screen. I think it is, and you can just pretty much see what your ping's on and see what your connection's like currently. So you can see if you're suddenly going to get a bit of lag spike, and you can see how good your connection is currently. Rather than having that off, you can have no idea. The input overlay, one controller graphic is shown on screen, and it displays input for your match. I recommend having that on. That's not really to do with the Wi-Fi as much. That is more to do with your controller. When you're pressing the button, and then you can and it shoots a bit late. So you probably all dealt with that issue as well. Maybe you press A to make a pass, B to have a shot, and it does it a few milliseconds later, and it's really annoying because it does mess you up. So pretty much having this input overlay on, all it's going to do is make it so you can see when you've made that pass. You can see if it's your controller that's delayed, so you can see when it actually comes up on the screen, or you can see if it comes up instantly when you press it on the screen, and then the game is doing it later. Then you can see it's a game issue and the connection issue, and that's the game being stupid rather than just your controller being a bit slow, or maybe a bit old, a bit broken, something like that. Which is sort of the issue. So pretty much, you can have a wide connection. You can have that stuff on to just so you can see it better. And I recommend when you're matchmaking as well, to try and get matches after 4 to 8 p.m. So 4 to 8 p.m. is when the servers are awful. 4 p.m. is most time when people get back from school, which is most of the people who play FIFA, and about to about 8 p.m. is when most people start to come off. So if you can do this, try and play your matches after 8 p.m., especially at night. Your connection is going to be so much better. But if that's not an option for you, which it isn't going to be an option for a lot of people, then that is also something that you're going to sort of have to deal with as well. That's just how it is at the moment, and that is not your issue. That is completely FIFA's issue. Sort of the point of this video, it's not just about telling you how you can make this better for yourself. It's trying to spread awareness to EA as well, because they're the ones messing up with this, and they're not actually bothering doing anything. They're just sitting there watching MLS soccer. I hate saying that word, but they're just watching that, thinking that's football, and then not even bothering to worry about the connection. So many people I know have sent in reports. You can even report straight to EA your connection issues right now, but I don't think they care at all. They probably don't even open them and look at them. I really don't think they care about how good your connection is. I don't think that's something they worry about. They're probably more worried about making more money on FIFA packs, and it is that simple. So pretty much all you can do, get a wide connection. Try not to go into a game if your ping is high. So when you find a match, and as soon as you find an opponent, you can see what your ping is before you even go into the game, and you're sort of selecting the kits, that kind of stuff. If it's anything above 50 or anything above the greens, I recommend just backing out and trying to find an opponent who may be closer to you or have better connection to you as well. Because if you find that and your ping's on like 200, just don't bother going into the game. All it's going to do is make it lag really bad, and you might even get disconnected, which is one of the worst things to have. So having a wide internet connection is the best option. It's going to stop you getting disconnected. Also, just closing stuff off. So you can see I have loads of tabs open at the moment. If I was trying to play in a match like this, I'll probably get messed up so bad. I've got 2 Chromes open here. I've got Steam open downloading the game, and that's going to mess it up. So make sure you close all that kind of stuff. Close downloads, turn off your Xbox or whatever you're playing on. Turn off the other thing that you're not playing on. And then if other people are in the house or on Netflix and stuff, I guess that's an issue that you're going to have to deal with, because I can't tell. I don't know if you can just go and tell your mum to get off Netflix. I don't know if that's something that's right to do. But anyway, not really much more to say on this issue. It's actually very hard to sort of give a direct problem fix to this issue because it's so annoying. And it's just going to be how it is until either FIFA change their servers to peer-to-peer, which is what they should be doing the whole time, or just actually get good servers. That's pretty much all we can say. But hopefully you understand now how FIFA servers actually work and how awful they actually are, which I'm pretty much just trying to get my point across in this video. Hopefully EA at some point will realise how many complaints they're getting and actually try and fix this issue. So you can see my internet's trash. If I'm playing someone with good internet, I'm totally screwed. That is that simple. I have to hotspot my phone. That's another method as well. Use your hotspot on your phone. If you've got a lot of data, it actually uses barely any data. I've got through an entire month of FIFA with only 5 gigabytes of data playing Foot Champs and Div Rivals. So you can just use the hotspot on your phone, connect to it. It doesn't actually use much data. You can connect your hotspot on your Xbox, PC and PlayStation. So that should be fine as well. Just connect your hotspot, and then you don't need to use a Wi-Fi, and it'll only be you on your hotspot, not anyone else in the house as well. You may not be able to do that if you don't have much data or if you can't connect to your hotspot or anything like that. But it's just another fix if it works. It worked for me, and it was actually really useful for time to time anyway. But that's pretty much everything for that video. This video today, guys. Sorry my speaking has been so bad. I keep messing up my words. I know I'm talking too quick, but I really can't talk at all today, so sorry about that. But that's everything for today's video. So go across to this speed test website here, sort of see what your connection's on. Go across to the EA website they made themselves over here to see what your connection score is, and that is pretty much all you can do. Sort of listen to the issues I said. The problem fixes I gave. They might work for you. Hopefully they work for you. If they don't, then that's going to have to be sort of on EA as well. But that's everything for today's video. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Hope your game doesn't lag anymore. Hopefully I'll see you again soon, and goodbye.